Your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it. Your home selling group. This is Jesse Terrero. Mr. Sold, it's me, Jesse T, back with you. I thought I'd talk to you today about something that's near and dear to my heart. It's our worthy cause. It's why we exist here at the Home Selling Group. For every transaction that we close, we will donate $500 to $1,000 to Project Tapestry in Los Angeles, a nonprofit, which distributes that money to the Coalition Against Human Trafficking, CAHT. I've been fighting human trafficking here in Los Angeles for about 12 years now. One day, about 12 or 13 years ago, I was driving down a street that was very near to my father's house, and it really never dawned on me. It was a street I've driven down a million times in my life, and I noticed right in the middle of the day prostitutes walking down the middle of the street, flashing themselves at cars driving by with the hopes of capturing some person who wanted to pay them 50, 75 bucks to go around the corner and do their thing. And what I really noticed was that these girls were really young. And it didn't really dawn on me until one day I was driving in that area and I saw a little boy, 14 years old, doing just about the same thing. And he was getting out of some older guy's car. Well, that was it for me. So I chased the guy down in the car, and I took his license plates, and I tried to get him to pull over, and he sped off like a maniac. And I went down to the police station, and I reported what I saw. And I don't know what happened to him, but that bothered me too, because the police were so incredulous about this. It was like no big deal. Now, this particular area in the San Fernando Valley was known as the Lankershim Corridor, San Fernando Road and Lankershim Boulevard. It had been there for 100 years, and this has been there for 100 years. My whole life, I grew up right in that neighborhood, and so that's a good almost 60 years. And it was there way before, when San Fernando Road was a dirt road. I mean, the minute they laid down the railroad tracks down San Fernando Road in 1867, and that dirt road was a dirt road that took you into Los Angeles, and the early trucks and wagons and horses would go down there. What cropped up was all these little hotels and motels and whatever over the years into the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And there was nothing but prostitution going on there. There was truck stops and cafes and stuff, so it was kind of a matter of the fact, but they kind of stayed all to themselves in that little area, or those areas, and they didn't kind of wind out and spread out into the local neighborhood. But during my lifetime, that spread went 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, 5 blocks into the neighborhood, because they were looking for a dark place to do their dark things. So when the police didn't do anything, and they said, well, what are we really going to do? It dawned on me there that something has to be done. So I picked up my sword and my shield, and I started fighting it on the street. Seriously. I would go and I would try to rescue the girls and the boys, and then the pimp would come around, and I would confront the pimp. And I had many confrontations with pimps. Some of them were just words, some of them were a little bit more. I got the police involved and finally convinced the police that this was of victimization that was taking place. That these young boys and girls and women were victimized. They were victims. Up until that point, they were kind of part of the problem. The police looked at it and saw them as the problem. But they were actually the victims. So I shamed the Los Angeles Police Department into doing something about it. It took me 2 years, utilizing all the media and my media contacts, and utilizing my real estate contacts, utilizing all the houses that I sold in that neighborhood over the years and the businesses, and knowing everybody in that community. I did rallies. I had news conferences, both in English and Spanish, and I just basically picketed the police station. I shamed the LAPD, going to the highest levels of the LAPD, the chief, who I knew, and I know the existing chief right now, and I shamed them into doing something about it. But I also at the same time had to shame the politicians, the local council people. Fortunately, the councilman at the time was someone I've known for 35 years, Tony Cardenas, who's in Congress now for about 10 years. And so I had an in there, and he had something called a juvenile justice program, which I became part of it. But when he left and the new person came in, this Nury Martinez, who's now the president of LA City Council, I had to kind of shame her into understanding what was really going on in her district, District 6, Sun Valley being the primary portion of it. So I had to get them to do it. Then I went up to the state and had to get Sacramento involved, and the governors and the assemblymen and the state senators, and I had to get them involved. I got the community involved, the homeowners, and I got the business owners, because they had alleys and a lot of stuff was taking place. I got them involved. And after about 7 years of this fight and a lot of effort put in, we did break the back of human trafficking, pimping, and prostitution on the Lankershim corridor. Over 100-year problem. And then we moved off into another corridor down Sepulveda Boulevard between Roscoe Boulevard and Parthenia. Actually, Plummer on the other side. And we cleaned that one up too. Unfortunately there, I got in a little bit of a jackpot. And that's because after 7 or 8 years of fighting this other area, which we cleaned up, which to this day is still cleaned up, primarily the pimps were African Americans. And the prostitutes were African Americans. But what happened during that 7-year period, MS-13 started seeping into that business. And they took it over. MS-13 is now the biggest kidnapper of human trafficking in our country today. So they took over the Parthenia to Roscoe, Plummer to Roscoe, Sepulveda corridor. I didn't realize that. I thought I was dealing with one-on-ones. So I went about doing my thing late at night. In fact, I even produced a reality-based TV show called The Hunter, which ran for a little while on Roku and Hulu and some other channels. Sort of done in dog fashion. It didn't really catch on, but I did something and brought some awareness. And so one night I was out there about 3 a.m, and this girl who I thought to be was about 14 was walking around the bus stop, and that was a clear sign of what she was trying to do. So I got out of my car, parked it around the corner. I used to take my license plates off so I couldn't get tracked by these bad guys. And I walked up to her and I tried to get her to go to the Mary Magdalene Church, which was a safe church for victimized young boys and girls and women who got kidnapped or abducted into human trafficking. And I almost had her there. I would put her in my car and drive her right over to Mary Magdalene because it was open 24 hours a day. It's called something else now, but they had been in existence for a long time. And so then the pimp came up, and he was riding a bicycle, because pimps never drive their cars. They ride bicycles so they can get away from the cops, and not only that, they don't get their car stolen, their weapons and their money that's sitting in the car. They don't get their car taken away from them when they get arrested. So he rides up on a bicycle, and I knew exactly what he was. And he was tatted up all the way to the top of his skull, and it was all MS-13 tats. And so he basically says to me in Spanish and English, like, what are you doing here? Why are you bugging my girl? Who are you? You better get out of here. Unless you're going to give us money, you better leave. And I said a few things back to him, and he said, do you know who you're messing with? I'm MS-13. He gave me his hand signals and all that stuff, right? And right then and there, I knew that I was in trouble. Yes, I carried a weapon. Absolutely. But why I was in trouble is because MS-13 was making millions and millions of dollars, and I realized that they took over the human trafficking, prostitution, and pimping, for the most part, in Los Angeles County. They took it over. They wiped everybody else out, their competition. And these people are evil. They are evil incarnate. They are so evil that evil isn't a word evil enough to use for these evil people. I mean, they're the kind of people that they got lots of money, so they buy DMV people, they buy cops, they buy lawyers, they buy off these people, and they get information. And they get information. They can find out where you live, where you work, what you do, how many kids you have, how old they are, where they're at, what they're doing, and they'll come bomb your house. But worse than that, they'll take your wife or your significant other, put her in an oil can of kerosene, light it on fire, and let you watch. Oh, they'll do worse things than that. I'm not going to speak about it, but whatever you think the worst horror picture you've ever seen in your lifetime, just multiply that times 100. That's how evil these people are to people. So I knew then that right there. So I got myself out of that jackpot, backed away, and got my car and took off. I didn't have the plates on, so there was no way to track me. But I was all over the news. I was all over the social media. I had news stories written, I had newspaper articles, I had TV interviews. I was all over because I'm like one of the main dudes in now Southern California fighting human trafficking. I was the one that created the idea that these are victims. We actually put away, helped participate, put away over 500 human traffickers during the time I was on the streets doing this. And we actually saved about 24 little boys and girls. So I had to back down. So I shut my activities off. And I helped the LAPD start the Human Trafficking Task Force, the Sheriff's Department in Los Angeles. I mean, we did so much, myself and my team. We had a team of volunteers that were just courageous people. And I've got pictures of them, and just courageous people, willing to put it on the line. And so I shut it down, and I went dark for 3 years. I mean, I downed my websites, I downed my social media, I took everything off. I went completely incognito, like a ghost, for about 3 or 4 years now. Yeah, 5 years. 5 years. I'd still donate money to the cause. For every closing that I would do, I'd donate money, but I had to go quiet. So now that we've moved up here to the AV about 7 years ago, and about a year ago we laid a new footprint. I still have a real estate office in San Fernando Valley. So we moved up here, and I thought, you know something? I saw some prostitutes walking down Sierra Highway. And it's like the same prostitutes walking down Sierra Highway, and nobody's doing anything about it. So if it's like there, like it was where I helped bust this up, I'm going to start getting involved with that up here. Start cleaning up this stuff. I think there's more than what meets the eye out there. So I'm going to start getting involved. And one of the ways I'm going to get involved is for every transaction that we close. So like if we help you find a house and we close that transaction, I will donate $500 to $1,000 in your name, because you'll be part of our team if you want me to. If not, I'll donate it to Project Tapestry in Los Angeles. We'll distribute the money to the Coalition Against Human Trafficking, and that money will be used for two things: to help rescue victims and restart their lives, and to help police agencies who are getting their budgets slashed, to help them financially so that they can keep the fight steadfast and forward. And I really would love you to be a part of it. If we sell your house, I'll do the same thing. You know, there's nothing like saving a little boy or a little girl. Because when they're abducted, their life ends. Their families are ruined. And the FBI say, statistic-wise, that within 7 years that person is dead, either by murder, abuse, drug overdose, or suicide. A young person. Because nobody stood up for him. FBI also says that about 2% at the most are ever rescued across America that get abducted and subjected to human trafficking. So when you save somebody's life and help them restart their life by putting them with the right agencies and support that, and these just courageous policemen who put themselves in harm's way, how can you not want to help? If you can imagine your child that happening to you, and you'll never see them again. So somebody has to do something, and we make the promise in writing and guarantee that we will donate money to these worthy causes. And I'm going to start fighting this stuff again up here. Let's save the kids, man. If you know anybody that wants to donate to the cause, it's 100% tax write-off. Nonprofit, Project Tapestry. I get nothing from it. My goal is to raise $50,000 by next Christmas, 1 year. That's just a drop in the bucket, but it's something. So join me, won't you? We have a Facebook website, and I'm going to be putting up a button there so you can make your donations and get your tax write-off. And if you have to sell or buy a property, or if you know anybody that wants to and wants to join our worthy cause, thank you. Your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it. The Home Selling Group. My name is Jesse Terrero. Mr. Soul, Jesse T. Please, if you like what we're doing, please comment, question, like, share. And on YouTube, hit that notification. Because the bigger we get, the more we can do. The more people we can help. The more people we can save. And the more evil rat bastards we can put in prison. Somebody has to do it. Let's be you and me. Together, everybody achieves more. It's a team. This is Jesse Terrero. 1-800-684-8699. Be happy to talk to you about this. Have a nice night.